In this video, we're going to be exploring some of the most commonly asked questions that we get about the schools here in Kansas City. Stay tuned. What's up? I'm Kyle, a local realtor, and we help clients who are relocating to Kansas City. We also help clients right here in the metro buy and sell. And a lot of the questions that we get are about the schools here in Kansas City. However, as a real estate agent, I'm not necessarily allowed to steer you in any way and give you advice. So what we've done is we went out and actually interviewed Danielle Dispenza at Show Me Schools, which is a nonprofit right here in Kansas City. And we're going to let her answer some of those tough questions. Let's jump into it. So we're here with Danielle Dispenza from Show Me Schools, and we met on the trolley trail.
We sure did, yeah.
Like, I don't know, what was that? Almost 2 years ago, I think.
It felt like the height of the pandemic too, because I remember like we were all just outside, like needing to get out of our homes for just a moment, as much as we love our homes.
Yeah, and that's why I love the trolley trail so much, because it's kind of like this oasis in the middle of the city. But we were super overwhelmed at the time with navigating schools because our kids were getting ready to go into kindergarten and pre-K.
I know.
And we were so thankful that we found you because this is such a great resource for families who are trying to navigate, you know, Kansas City schools for the first time. So tell our audience, what is Show Me Schools?
Yeah, so Show Me KC Schools is a local nonprofit here in Kansas City, Missouri, that helps families understand this complex educational landscape. And I think that that's really important for a lot of people who are either from Kansas City or living outside of the state to understand. We have school options within the Kansas City public school boundaries. And for a lot of us, maybe we grew up in a traditional feeder pattern district and our schools were just assigned to us by our address, but it operates differently here in Kansas City. So we're a nonprofit that offer a slew of free services to help get families the information they need.
Cool. And I am a product of the suburb school district. So I grew up in Johnson County, and that was one of the things that was so overwhelming for us, is the amount of options for schools here in Kansas City.
Right, yeah. So, I mean, Kansas City isn't unique in the fact that we have school options. Many major cities nationwide do. So oftentimes we find that families that are coming from, let's say, Chicago or Austin, some of these other large cities, that they've experienced some of this, you know, school options before. But I'm with you, Kyle, seriously. I grew up in multiple different suburb school districts of the Kansas City metro, and it was the same everywhere we went, regardless of what grade I was in. Here's your address. Here's the school that you're assigned to within that school district. And here in Kansas City, I think to put it in perspective, so like for you and Molly, if you have a kiddo that's entering kindergarten, you could have over 20 different public school options, free public school options to explore and look into and apply to within these Kansas City public school boundaries. Whereas if we were in another area, it would just be the one elementary school, or you could explore your private school options. So it's honestly, it can be kind of exciting, overwhelming and exciting at the same time, which is why we're here.
And that's the way I see it now. I think, you know, as we were entering into it, you know, coming from that suburb, this is your school, zip code, you're married to that, you only have this option, to now I'm like, it's actually pretty neat to have these options available. But I also see where a lot of our clients are coming from. You know, if you're relocating to Kansas City, you know, schools is something that you don't want to add on top of
buying a house,
right?
And the pressures of all of
and
that.
Navigating a new city, especially one that is divided, you know, right down the middle by state lines. So you have a Kansas and Missouri. So not only are you navigating, you know, the Kansas City public school system on the Missouri side, but you're also navigating on the Kansas side in some cases and trying to make a decision of what's best for your family.
Exactly. And that's where, so of all the services that we offer here at Show Me KC Schools, one-on-one navigation is that interactive opportunity for families to either call, we can set up a virtual meeting, we can go meet at a coffee shop, or sometimes uniquely we meet on the trolley track trail.
Coffee shop right across the street too.
Coffee shop right across the street. And so what that means is that I'm really here to be able to sit down with any individual or family and say, okay, let's look at your trifecta. Let's look at where you're working, where both parents or families are working, you know, the dynamics of the household, and then what exactly it is that you're seeking when it comes to your house or your neighborhood, commuting, and trying to put all those puzzle pieces together is a lot of what navigation is. Talk to me about the logistics. Do you need before and after care for your student or students? And then how old are your kiddos? Are we talking about one kiddo or multiple kiddos in multiple grades? And so that's where I almost refer to it as like a bracketing system, right? Where it's like, okay, let's start listing these things out and then let's get closer to what the top priorities are so that we can center in on where we need to be. And all of that is with a focus of looking at these schools that we have available within the Kansas City public school boundaries and saying like, okay, where can we get you if you're new and coming in, you know?
Yeah, and that's so important for, especially, like I said, I can only speak to my own experience, but before we found Show Me Schools, we were just kind of like, I guess we'll apply to Academy Lafayette because, you know, that's where
it's really close to where you live.
Right. And that's where, you know, some people, families on our block have kids in school. And, you know, we were like, well, that might make sense. But can you tell me a little bit more about some of the resources available to people who are navigating this for the first time?
Yeah, absolutely. So Show Me KC Schools has worked over the years of being an organization to really tailor everything that we offer to meet the needs of families. So we do have our printed school guide. Shout out to this. You can pick this up in all of the Kansas City public library branches. We keep them stocked there. And when we try to sprinkle them in throughout coffee shops in the city and grocery stores and everywhere else. But the printed school guide is really a snapshot of what's available on our website. And our website is so big and comprehensive. And again, it's going to provide you interactive maps to tell you what school district you're in. So anywhere in the metro, honestly, Kyle, you can go to our Find My District map and pump in an address and find out like, oh, this house is in North Kansas City School District. I'm going to reach out to North Kansas City School District for additional information. But for us here at Show Me KC Schools within these Kansas City public school boundaries, because we have 19 public charter school operators, and we have a slew of faith-based and independent private schools, as well as Kansas City public schools that's operating those traditional neighborhood schools like you and I were used to growing up based on your address, but then some really awesome specialty programs that are integrated into some of the public schools. So be that foreign language immersion, Montessori for our elementary school kids, or performing arts over at Paseo for our middle and high school kids. We have created interactive events and the website. So you can come and see us at the City School Fair in November.
So I went to the City School Fair and it was hugely important in our decision-making process for our two students because it was, an opportunity for us to actually speak to some of the teachers and administrators at each of these individual schools that we were already considering. So it helped narrow down that funnel even further.
Exactly. And that is a cornerstone event for us, Kyle. That's going to be happening every single year, the second Saturday in November. Families know that is a resource that's always available to them. And then beyond that, we have actually shifted and we're recording a podcast now. So much of the explanation of this complex landscape can be found on our podcast. We can link you up to that on our website.
And we'll plug it down below in the comments as well.
Yeah, for sure. And we've pre-recorded those. So again, we recognize that as families, as parents and caregivers, we're busy. There's a lot happening, but it's so helpful to be able to start and stop that podcast informational, episode in your car, on your commute, and be able to feel a little bit more confident and grounded in your path forward and the decision making. So really love to hear that you all had such a great time at City School Fair, and I'm hoping that families will find the podcast equally as helpful.
Cool. Yeah, I've listened to it and it is very informative. So I appreciate you guys doing that.
Yeah.
So You mentioned something about middle schools, and this is something that we have had, questions about from our relocation clients, and even, people who live in Kansas City who are making that transition from elementary to middle school, junior high. And there's kind of this connotation that there aren't many options available for that age range.
Right.
So can you tell me a little bit more about what some of the options are that are available for middle school and junior high?
Yeah, for sure. So again, we're not going to sugarcoat it. We know that this is a complex landscape when you have this many options. And that's why we're here, is we're really trying to streamline this process for families. So not to overwhelm them, but we do have 2 neighborhood middle school options. We have 3 signature school middle school options that have that specialty programming, like we were talking about, performing arts, college prep, African-centered curriculum, right? These are amazing things. And then beyond that, we have about 15 different public charter schools that offer middle school as part of the grade levels that they serve. And that's just focusing, Kyle, on the public school options. Again, Show Me KC Schools works for families. We want to meet them where they are. And we recognize that a lot of families do want to explore private schools and faith-based private schools as well. So we've listed them in our website and on our school guide. Part of that I consider from a navigation standpoint, again, when we're talking about the logistics of a household, I really want to help you with some potential pathway planning, right? So depending on what grade level your student's in when you're moving into the city, whether we're starting fresh in pre-K, like we did with you and Molly, we've put together a workbook for families. And this is just really a step-by-step guide and some prompts on questions to really consider logistics and what's important to you and what you should be looking for in a school when you're comparing them, because you have options. Cool.
All right. So one of the resources available to a lot of families who are relocating, and one of the main websites that we've used in our videos because it is kind of easy resource to navigate, is Nichecom. So there are some websites out there similar to that, but I know that their algorithms have a way of ranking schools. So what would you say is some of the most important information about these schools that you should know about going into it?
Yeah, that's where having a one-on-one conversation with either myself or just important people in your life. I always tell everyone, lean into that and just opening up that box of conversations. Kyle, for some families, test scores and attendance percentages are going to be really at the top of their list. And what we've found in our research is that oftentimes that is the main metric for some of those nationally used websites, right? A lot of their grading is based very much on those specific factors. What I want families to know is that we pull that information on every single one of the public schools here in the Kansas City public school boundaries from the Missouri Department of Education. So this is where it's being reported to. We're pulling it from that. We've put it on our website, but we feel really passionately about the fact that all families choose schools for different reasons. And sometimes that's programming, sometimes that's climate and culture. Maybe it's wanting to explore a specialty program that you're not necessarily seeing offered within another school district. And we want you to be able to look at the schools, see what they have to offer, and again, start to bracket them out or funnel them down. But more than anything, we highly recommend that families take a moment and go step inside a school, because we can read about it in a book, we can look at pictures online, but I know that you have personal experience with that as well, interacting with schools at the City School Fair, but then taking that next step and going into a school can really help families feel a little bit more grounded in their decision making. So we just want to support them and what's important to them on their list and putting those puzzle pieces together.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you sitting down with us. I know that this is going to be hugely beneficial to our audience and people who are just relocating here or navigating the Kansas City Public Schools for the first time. So how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, for sure. Well, we try to put our information out there in all capacities. So I know you're going to put my email address, Danielle@showmekcschools.org, down in the comments. You can also reach me directly at my telephone number, text message, or phone call. Like I said, we can hop on a phone call and get you started on your pathway. And of course, go over to showmekcschools.org. All of my contact information pops up there, and we're going to be able to connect you wherever you need to be.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate your time, Danielle.
I know, so good to see you.
Thank you so much.
For sure.
All right, cool. So my goal for this video was to be a resource for people who are relocating to or navigating the schools in Kansas City for the first time, or maybe you're just frustrated with where you're at in the schools, and now you have Danielle and Show Me Schools as a resource for you. All of their information is down below. And look, if you're considering buying or selling a house here in Kansas City, my team and I, we would love to assist you. So shoot us an email at info@movingtokc.net, and until next time.